Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ruth and I'm a wife and a mom of 3 beautiful kids, and I make lifestyle, motherhood, and beauty content. So if you're interested in that, then go ahead and subscribe and let's get into today's video. Okay, so let's talk about sleep training. Sleep training is such a controversial topic. So many people have different opinions on how you're supposed to sleep train, when you're supposed to sleep train. And my number one advice to you, and this is not part of my 3 tips, but it is my number one advice, is do what works best for you and for your family. Everyone has different schedules. Everyone has different lifestyles. Everyone has different ways of living, how they live. And so I feel like it's very important to do whatever fits your family and your routine. For me, for example, I do not like to co-sleep. I am very picky about needing to sleep and needing time alone at nighttime. That's my time to take care of myself, to shower, to live a little without having children running around me, touching me, needing me, all of these things. To me, that's very important. So I value sleep training a lot. I tried co-sleeping with my daughter when she was born. I would never sleep just because I was always worried for her, if she's breathing, if she's okay, if she needs anything. And so that transitioned into me bringing her into my bed just for my peace of mind. But then again, I wasn't at peace of mind because God forbid I roll over, I squish her, anything. I was just always nervous and always freaked out. So what that caused is my daughter now is struggling with even getting out of our bed. So it's something that we've had to work on and are currently working on, but it's something that I definitely did not pass on to my other 2 children that I had after, because I do not like to co-sleep. I like to sleep in my bed by myself, not with my children. So that is something very important to me. Again, if you do co-sleep, that is wonderful. Good for you. I know that so many people come from a different place on why they co-sleep. And so that is, if that works for you, do it and go ahead, be happy. Make sure, as long as your child is sleeping, as long as you're sane, who cares? I'm just saying what doesn't work for me and for my family. So with that being said, my number one tip on co-sleeping is I made sure to have a place where my baby could sleep. So whether that be a bedroom or a separate place. So I know people that have a big closet and they transition that into a bedroom. That is all okay, as depending on how much space you have, as long as it's safe for the baby to be there, obviously. But the baby needs to have an isolated space that is not in your bedroom to sleep, somewhere where it's quiet and it's dark and they can learn to sleep and soothe themselves. I realized that if I had my kids in our bedroom, then they would never learn to sleep themselves. They feel your presence, they smell you, they know that you're there, so they'll always depend on you. But when they have a place where they have to do it themselves, you teach them to do it themselves. Now, I did have my children when they were newborns in our room for a couple months while they were, going through that stage of they needed to eat every 2 hours or needed something every 2 hours, just because they were so new to the world. And so they needed that constant taking care of and that constant protection. But it does come to a point, for me, it was always around 4 months, where my children start to independently or learn to independently soothe themselves, and they are able to go to sleep by themselves. When it comes to that stage, then I isolate them. I put them in their own separate room. I know people who they put it's like curtains or something, like a divider, something that they can see that it's separate and it's only for sleep. So I don't play with my kids in their room. I don't use their room as a play yard. No, it's only for sleep. So I only take them to their room to sleep. Of course, at the beginning of your sleep training. Now that my kids are a lot older, they play in their room and everything, and that's okay, because they know that that's their room and that's where they sleep. But in the beginning stages, I only introduce them to their room when it's time for bed. So nap times, bedtimes, that's the only times they're in the room. And then when they wake up, they are taken out of their room. And so they associate their room with falling asleep. So that is one thing that has worked great for us with my 2 younger children. So my second tip is to set a schedule. I cannot emphasize this enough. Set a schedule for your kids. Kids love schedules. They thrive on schedules and routines. And not only for the kids, but for you too. You learn your children, and when you set schedules for them, you know what is going to happen at every time of the day. And so it's so much easier for you and your child. For example, when I was sleep training, I set schedules for my kids, what time they needed to wake up, what time they ate breakfast, what time they went down for their nap, what time they ate lunch, what time they had playtime, what time it was bath time. Why? Because then your child will start to learn every time of the day, and they'll associate, oh, we're taking a bath, that means that soon enough we're gonna go to sleep. Oh, we're eating lunch, that means that soon enough it's nap time. Or if you do nap and then lunch, whatever you do, whatever works for your family and your lifestyle, but set a certain schedule for your child, and that way it will help you and it will also help them. For example, every single day, I put my kids to bed at 7:30 at night. So every single day, if I keep doing that constantly, my child, even his body will start getting tired, and I will start to notice that they're sleepy around 6:30, 7. They're starting to get tired because their body is already used to going to sleep at 7:30. And every single day, it's the same pattern until it becomes a habit. And then it just naturally, it's 7:30 and your kid is asleep. You don't even need to ask him. You don't even need to put him down. They are naturally asleep. And so that's why kids and you, mom, should thrive and should live on a schedule and a routine. Don't let anyone mess up your schedule and your routine, because then that messes up your kid and your family and your lifestyle. Okay, and so for my third and final tip is make sure your child is stimulated enough throughout the day. Meaning, obviously, depending on the child's age and what stage of life your child is, but you can't have your child sitting at home doing nothing and then expect them to fall asleep when you want them to. Your child needs to be stimulated. Your child needs to feel tired, especially when you're sleep training. When you're sleep training, you have to make sure that your child is going to sleep at the time you want them to go to sleep, tired. You're laying them down tired from going to the park if they're old enough, or if they're little babies, just make sure you do interactive games with them. You can, if you guys like, I can make a whole video on what entertainment or what games you can do for your little baby. But there's different sensory games and entertainment for your child that, believe it or not, tires them out. Even at 4 months old, 5 months old, 6 months old, the different activities. If your child is learning how to crawl, make sure they're crawling enough. Make sure they're getting enough time on the floor playing around. Don't just have them on their chair or on their high chair, or don't only carry them, which is all good, but make sure that if they're going to sleep at 7:30, at 5, they're having enough activity that tires them out and wears them out enough to be able to go to bed. You have to remember that these kids come with energy. They have energy and they need to release that energy. If they don't release that energy, then you're gonna have trouble putting them down for a nap and putting them down to go to bed at night. For example, me, I wake them up in the morning, I feed them breakfast, and I make sure they have enough playtime to be tired at 1 o'clock when I put them down for their nap. All of my kids only take 1 nap now. I am down to 1 nap. Some of them don't even nap anymore. But for the kids that do nap, I make sure that they're getting enough running around, playing, activity, enough to get them tired by 1 o'clock. And then they wake up from their nap, I give them lunch, and then I also, again, Take them to the park, make them go for a walk, let them go outside, let them play with their toys, run around, get tired and get all of that energy out. It's very important for your child to go to sleep at the time you want them to. I know so many parents where they want their kids to go to sleep, but their kids are full of energy. And so then I ask them, okay, but what have your kids done all day? Oh, nothing. They're just sitting on their iPad. No, that doesn't get their energy out. They need physical activity. Sitting on the couch, watching their iPad, watching a movie isn't them getting energy out. They need to get that energy out. And it's so important. It's so crucial, especially for sleep training. You want to make sure. It's like when you're potty training. You can't potty train and not give your kid water. Like when you're potty training, you have to make sure you're giving them fluids, if not more fluids than usual, in order to potty train them, because if not, there's no purpose. So it's the same thing with sleep training. You need to make sure that they're getting enough stimulation during the day in order for your sleep training to actually work. So those are my tips that I have for you guys. Only 3 simple tips, but I promise if you guys follow those, they will work. They really do work. I am a testimony of it with my two younger kids. So if you like today's video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And also, why don't you leave down in the comments below what has worked for you to sleep train your children? And maybe you can help out a mom that is also struggling in that area and may need a little bit more advice. Thank you guys so much and see you on the next one. Bye.